2013. Marvel has a serious villain problem. The only good villain they have right now is Loki. They should really figure out how to be more reliable with their characters, like Game of Thrones. 2021. Between Thanos, Zemo, Kilmonger, and Hela, I would say that the MCU has anything but a villain problem. Not only has Marvel created some of the most iconic villains of the last decade, but it's clear that these villains will define the decade to come.
Back to me.
Let's see you do that, Night King. Probably the biggest surprise villain reveal since Thanos showed off that he was the secret bad guy behind the Avengers was when Red Skull appeared in Infinity War as a servant to the Soul Stone. Frankly, no one expected to see Red Skull again in the franchise. Captain America the First Avenger didn't explicitly off Johann Schmidt, but it didn't really hold the door open for his return either. If you weren't paying close enough attention to that portal the Space Stone opened up for him, it wouldn't be wrong of you to think that he just melted away like an Indiana Jones bad guy. Now, while it was great that Red Skull got a few amazing cameos, the destruction of the Soul Stone opens a whole new world of possibilities for him. He is now a free agent who could return to Earth and start Hydra going again.
Hydra will stand master of the world.
There's even a possibility that he could team up with the likes of Batroc and Zemo if they survive the first season of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Personally, I hope he comes to Earth with a giant space army and the real cosmic cube. He deserves a grand re-entrance. Now I want to give a quick shout out to Ross Marquand for his pitch-perfect performance as Red Skull in the last two Avengers films. I mean, I was 100% sure that was Hugo Weaving when I heard it in theaters. So I am officially granting you the Golden CBR Award for Best Impression of a Big-Name Actor. I'm sure you're touched. Captain Marvel really made it hard to write a sequel. The film was a great throwback to the 90s, which established Nick Fury and his whole Avengers obsession. It also introduced arguably the strongest hero to date with Carol Danvers. By arguably, I truly mean arguably, as even characters like Agent Wu and Darcy Lewis within the MCU argue over whether Danvers or Wanda Maximoff is number one.
Nobody else came close.
Well, I'd argue that Captain Marvel came close.
So how exactly are they going to challenge someone who made even Thanos freak out a little bit? Luckily, her old trainer Yon-Rogg is still out there, and he has special ways of torturing her. You see, often the best comic book villains aren't the ones who can punch out the heroes, but psychologically mess them up. I mean, has the Joker ever won a fist fight? Don't answer that. Yon-Rogg knew Carol when she thought that she was a Kree soldier named Veers. She seemingly spent many happy years fighting with the Star Force, and her life from that era could be used against her. Reminding her of friends and loved ones she undoubtedly made during that time could really make her hesitate before shooting one of those photon blasts. And if that's not enough, the Supreme Intelligence and Ronin could very well be in play too. Captain Marvel 2 could very well explain what Danvers was up to during the first half of the MCU and why Ronin became radicalized in Guardians. Donald Glover can pretty much do whatever he wants. Between his career as Childish Gambino, his television show Atlanta, and his iconic role as Troy Barnes in Community, that man pretty much writes his own meal ticket. It seems like he is destined to make a big return to Marvel since his cameo in Homecoming. In that film, he was Aaron Davis, otherwise known as the Prowler and uncle of the Miles Morales Spider-Man. You know, the one that's massively popular right now due to the Oscar-winning Into the Spider-Verse film and the Spider-Man Miles Morales video game. So yeah, I'm pretty sure Sony and Marvel are going to get a live-action Miles Morales going with Glover involved somehow. While it would be pretty cool to see him do the Prowler, Mahershala Ali pretty well nailed the character in Spider-Verse. It might not be a juicy enough role for him anymore. Now, if he wrote, starred, and directed the film Atlanta style with an option for him to join the other surviving Spidey villains in a Sinister Six film, that's a different story. Regardless, I just want both the Donald Glover Lando Calrissian and the Billy D. Williams Lando Calrissian in the Disney Plus series they just announced. I don't care if it has flashbacks, is set in 2 time periods, or has time travel, just make it happen, Disney. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 has a lot of ground to cover. It has to tie up the trilogy, bring past Gamora into the fold, explain what happened to Xandar before Infinity War, and give us all a reason to forgive Peter Quill for, well, you all know. Luckily, James Gunn already has some of the work done for him, as the third film's villain is likely one you've already met. Ayesha of the Sovereign was pretty angry over all the trouble the Guardians made for her the last time. The post-credits sequence showed Ayesha creating a new character for the Guardians to go up against.
More capable of destroying the Guardians of the Galaxy.
That would be Adam Warlock, the legendary cosmic character who has been hinted at by James Gunn for years. What's more, the current state of the galaxy has likely left a huge opening for the Sovereign to have a bigger presence for the third film. Thanos laid waste to every galactic civilization during the snap, and even abandoned his entire empire to live out his wildest Animal Crossing dreams on his own private farm. This has likely left a power vacuum that someone like Ayesha would seize. If she's played the snap to her benefit, she probably wouldn't appreciate Thanos' daughter Gamora showing up out of nowhere. That sounds like conflict to me. Man, you just can't keep a good Loki down. He has been seemingly offed 3 times so far, and I bet there's more to come.
I've been falling for 30 minutes!
In Endgame, a past version of Loki escaped his Thanos strangulation fate by escaping from the Avengers. He's now set up for his own Disney Plus series where it looks like he's working for the Time Variance Authority. Basically, they're time cops, but with a lot less Jean-Claude Van Damme. Now this should have been obvious to everyone, but Loki seems to break away from his captors and cause heaps of mischief across time.
Glorious.
Big surprise from the God of Mischief. Now, rumors for Loki make it seem like we will be seeing more Loki than anyone could have guessed. Actors Richard E. Grant and Sophia DiMartino are rumored to both be playing different versions of Loki. Grant may very well be the series' villain as the crueler, old Loki from the comics, while DiMartino may be playing the female Loki some fans have been eager to see for years. Honestly though, I hope they find a way to bring in Kid Loki. You wouldn't think that a child version of Loki would be entertaining, but he was one of the best versions of the character. You guys remember when Doctor Strange used the ultimate cheat code on the final boss moment when he trapped Dormammu in a time loop for possibly thousands of years until he gave up? Well, that's not gonna work anymore. You see, Strange lost the Time Stone when Thanos obliterated it, opening the world to all kinds of trouble. Multiverse of Madness could force Strange to take Dormammu on for real this time. Luckily, he might have help because Wanda Maximoff is going to be in the sequel. Though, judging from her recent behavior, she might actually be Dormammu. Wait. Was that CBR's 100th WandaVision theory? It was! Oh, I'm so honored. Obviously, I'd like to thank Disney Plus and Reddit for making this possible. Iron Man 2 wasn't the most beloved of the MCU films. It was the first that really tried to make use of the expanded universe, and, well, they hadn't really optimized the process yet. The film had a legendarily bad production that saw actors recast, scripts rewritten, and Jon Favreau to leave the MCU to go redefine Star Wars instead. Though it is nice that he still plays Happy in the Spider-Man movies. The part of Iron Man 2 that was pretty well liked by everyone was Sam Rockwell's performance as Tony's sort of rival, Justin Hammer. The character may have been sort of a joke in Iron Man 2, but the years in prison may have hardened him into a real villain. Disney has recently announced an Armor Wars series centering around Rhodey protecting Tony Stark's legacy. Now, it's possible that Hammer might finally get his hands on Tony's tech to tear it apart and make his own. Seeing as Hammer was the one who first weaponized the War Machine armor, it seems fitting that War Machine would be the one to bring him down. Well, folks, it finally happened! Disney regained the rights to use Daredevil in the MCU! That means we only have to wait until Kevin Feige brings back Matt Murdock for more mayhem in Hell's Kitchen. I mean, we'll probably never see Luke Cage, Punisher, Jessica Jones, or Iron Fist again, but Daredevil was definitely the favorite child of the MCU's Netflix era. So if Matt's return to Marvel is inevitable, that means Kingpin probably is as well. Wilson Fisk still stands as one of the best villains the MCU has ever had, with Vincent D'Onofrio pulling off such a great performance that I think he stands above his comic counterpart. Last we saw him, he was off to jail. Since then, though, half of New York City got blinked out of existence, likely including Daredevil. Now let's be real, there's no way someone with bad luck like Matt Murdock wouldn't get blipped. This means that Fisk has a great way of worming back into New York's criminal underworld. This would serve as a great way to reboot Daredevil into a Hell's Kitchen even he doesn't recognize. Hopefully, this would lead to him teaming up with Spider-Man to take Kingpin down. Is that too much to hope for? It feels like too much. Does anyone remember that time Tim Blake Nelson played the leader in Incredible Hulk? It seems like no one at Marvel remembers because his supervillain tease is the biggest loose end in the MCU. Luckily, the She-Hulk series may rectify this problem with Orphan Black's Tatiana Maslany jumping into the role of the biggest, greenest lawyer in New York City. As a Hulk, she is definitely gonna need people to punch, and it looks like the series is not gonna let us down. For starters, Emil Blonsky is back for more Abomination action. And while that is awesome, what would smash even harder is if She-Hulk had to fight the OG Hulk controlled by the leader to become violent once again. I mean, I like the taco-delivering Professor Hulk from Endgame, but a lot of people want Old Green to get angry one last time. Ant-Man and the Wasp has kind of been forgotten by a lot of fans. It may have set up Avengers Endgame's entire plot with the Quantum Realm, but you rarely see anyone talk about villains like Ghost and Sonny Burch, who are still very much in play. I doubt we will see either in the next Ant-Man film, but both could reappear in all kinds of Disney Plus shows, Jimmy Woo style. Ghost has a lot of merit, seeing as she was a Black Ops SHIELD agent with a visually interesting fighting style. She could appear literally anywhere to provide a good secondary villain or fight scene. Burch could also be used to add in flavor as the MCU's shadiest black market tech dealer. Anyone who has seen Justified knows that the MCU has barely scratched the villainous potential of Walton Goggins. 2030. Oh, I was totally right about those MCU villains. You guys have no idea. House of the Dragon is also pretty freaking great. Get ready to be hurt by George R.R. Martin again.